だけは一番下にいます。ここですね。なんかレアなものを渡して、まあ、いらないよって言うと、なんか相当マニアなんだなって言われます。
Alright, we're back. Looks like it. Cool. So this whole portion is just really goofy. Francis freaks out at the sight of a girl, or a hot babe in the English translation, and he tries to woo her via dating simulators, but considering anime, manga, and video games are basically his entire personality, he really doesn't have anything that can woo her. And so she just blows up his computer. So this fight's kind of a letdown. Francis can just turn invisible because he's a chameleon. He tries to like blind you with his flash, but he doesn't really have any attacks that hit very hard. And Bowser is Bowser plus Studley is like quadruple damage. Like you do a metric ton of damage if you ground pound into enemies. And Frankie only has like 40 HP, so he's pretty easy to kill. Anyways, dang, he's had some bad luck getting this last hit in. Anyways, so that's Francis. I keep wanting to call him Frankie, but that's a character from Thousand Year Door. So as I was touching on with the door, in English it has some funny things like all RPGs need to be 170 hours long before side quests, and I go on the internet and write reviews of games that I've never even played, which are some quite meta jokes. The Japanese version will say stuff like, I only buy the limited editions, I own more than 3 games I've never played, the covers and illustrations are more important than the actual text in the novels, always buy books at least 2 under the top, food feeds the stomach while figures feed the heart, and my first love was an anime character, so similar, not quite the same, but similar levels of nerdy. And so Tippy happened to have the pure heart on her the entire time, and just happened to, like, after being so elated at being saved, just releases it without knowing she had it on her the entire time. And so that's how we go to that world and get it back from her. It's a shame. There's a whole I do always find the little parody of the gal games and dating sims joke that you see with the scene before him. This intermission is a lot shorter, but it does reveal some hints as to what Dimentio has planned for Mario, and reveals that they have a new ally on their hands. I wonder who that could be. The void's gonna get a little bit bigger. So you can actually do a gold bar clip here on the top of the tower. And that allows you to basically just get out of bounds on this screen here and not have to do the elevator or falling off portion. And you can actually just kind of quickly make your way down here. It saves a little bit of time, and since gold bar clips are really easy to perform, we can just get straight to the next Pure Heart block.
誰が乗っても速度が4になります。マリオの歩いてる時が3だと思ってください。
クッパで乗ろうがピーチで乗ろうが速度は変わらないので、クッパで乗ったまま進行するということも可能ですね。速度変わらずに。今までは速度を合わせるため、速度を速くするためにマリオに変更するってことが多かったんですけど、クッパのまま進行するっていうところもあるかもしれないです。
そうですね。ここらで、壁抜けの説明をしておきますね。はい。この壁抜けですが、まず、壁の近くに金塊を置きます。そして、消えマウスを使っ
So that might have seemed like a really short intermission, and you might think, wait, isn't there going to be some sort of a catch? And there is, and it's kind of dumb. So we can go and start Chapter 4, quote unquote. But the problem with Chapter 4 is it's in space. So we get to our space level, and we're way out in space. And the problem with space is we cannot breathe in space. For forgetting the fact that you go to space in many, many, many other Mario games. This did come out before Galaxy, but it came out after Thousand Year Door, where you literally go on the moon. So, anyways, we can't breathe in space, apparently. So Tippy shows off some of her magic powers yet again and just conveniently saves us by warping the street back to Flipside. So I'm going to do another gold bar clip here. To get out of bounds. And all the way down to the base here, to Merlin's house. And he suggests that we find some means to get a helmet, basically. And he reveals, I want to say at this point he says he has like a bowl, but it went missing or he gave it away. So we're going to go find this kid in town. And he's got a fish bowl. And we're going to just take his fish bowl because, 3D object on 2D head, you can breathe in air now, or you can breathe in space now. The one catch is that we need to find a place for his fish to go. So we're going to go and release this kid's fish, which is... it might sound like, oh, we're doing something cruel, and it's like, no, we're saving the fish. You don't keep fish in little fish bowls. Everyone who takes care of fish knows that you don't keep a fish in a fish bowl for longer than a couple hours because it gets dirty, and fish have remarkable sensibilities. They do not like being in a tiny little space with nothing to do for months on end. So there's your God, I'm forgetting the term. Your Fish Enthusiast 101. Do not keep fish in fish bowls. It is very bad for them. Give them a big spacious tank, make sure the tank is cleaned, make sure the tank is heated, etc., etc. So we get a helmet and we save this kid's fish from terrible fate. So it's win-win. Anyways, now we can breathe in space. And one thing I haven't touched on, so we did get carry for defeating Francis there, because the game automatically gives it to you if you didn't get the power-up. She looks kind of like a disassembled block, and what she does is she turns into a portable platform. As you can see, we're just standing on her as she's spinning around and following this SOS signal. Hidden here is a little squid entity. His name is Squirps. And he's sort of our buddy for the rest of this chapter. Quite useful because he can shoot laser beams from his mouth. But yeah, this level is very straightforward. There's a lot of trying to figure out where to go next, but because Igrmi knows where to go next, he's not really going to be spending a lot of time on that. So, I alluded to earlier, there's kind of a backstory with these two characters named Timpani and Blumiere. And the story reveals over the course of the game that Timpani was actually Tippy in her previous life before the events of the game. And she fell in love with a man named Lumiere and was kind of like a human in this like dimension of what is called the I think the Tribe of Darkness is their name. And you know, it was a forbidden love. Blumiere's family didn't approve of it, and he suggests to elope anyways. And this kind of upsets Blumiere's father, and thus causes him to banish her. And as Blumiere can't find her, and, you know, he kind of just sails off the deep end. And so that kind of sets up a lot of events in this game, because it's what sends Tippy to Flipside, where Merlin turns her soul into a pixel, and that's why she's this butterfly instead of a human. As for Blumiere's identity, I think it's either the second to last chapter or the last chapter, but it's kind of heavily implied throughout the entire game that his later identity would come to be known as Count Black. So that's kind of the history between the two of them, and kind of just his whole backstory of why he had the one thing that he loved taken away from him, so now he's just kind of out for revenge on the entire universe. It's like, if I can't have her, nobody can kind of deal. And there you go. That's story time with Ghost Kumo, as I explained basically the backstory as the game builds it up, because I probably won't have a lot of time to do that. And that's my way of buying time for Chapter 4-1, which is probably one of the slowest, most basic levels in the entire game. Anyways, 4-2. So Squirps here is unable to help us any further because he really needs to go to the bathroom. And unfortunately, the one outhouse here is currently being used. I love this like weird little stretchy enemy on the screen here, by the way. Look at him. Just stretches his neck and tries to hit you. It looks really dumb. I don't know what its purpose is, but it's funny. But unfortunately, we can't get to the bathroom until we find some toilet paper, which I don't know how we're going to find any paper way out in space. Really quick, there are these two flowers here. They I think it's either double or triple your score. The red ones make everything go double time, and the blue ones make everything go like half speed. The red ones are obviously useful because if you're going double time, you're moving faster. So part of learning how to run this game is just knowing how to go fast effectively with the red flower power-ups. And this screen right here is part of an important grind sequence. So every jump you do consecutively is going to give you a bit of extra multiplier for your combo. And so he's going to just repeatedly chain together hits on these enemies here to build up just loads of experience points really quickly. This is effectively the way you get around grinding. Ah, that's unfortunate. I lost his combo there.
そうですね。これ本来は20
It's not like run ending, it's just it helps to have the EXP.
いやー、どうしよう。どうしようかな。
これが一発投資の怖いところ。
いやー、見すぎたくなかったな、ここは。
ちょっと前に言った通り、スコアによってレベルが上がって攻撃力も変わってくるので、ここでレベルが上がらなかったんですけど。
Alright, so this weird looking alien fellow, I think he's called a Blormule or something. If you answer his questions here, he gives you an ancient scroll, which if you read the ancient scroll, it gives you a very little a somewhat vague clue as to a puzzle later on. However, its main use is going to be as toilet paper. And if you don't find that as funny as I do, then I don't know what to tell you. There's just something amusing to me about the idea of appropriating an ancient relic so that somebody can wipe themselves.
.2 とかで稼ぎます？まあ、それもありなんですけど、ロック面の前ですかね。にパワープラスを拾いに行けるので、それで埋めるっていうこともできます。こっちの方がいいんだろう。難しい。レベルじゃなくても攻撃力を上げるみたいな感じで。そうですね。防ぎ直しがステージを出入りしないと敵キャラが復活しないので、考えると難しいんですよね。ここで、なんか紙をくれと言われるので、もう古文書を渡しちゃいます。古文書を紙として使ったらガッサガサやと思うんですけど。
Anyways, so the one in the bathroom turned out to be a pixel all along. They have not washed their hands, so I don't particularly know why they're in our party right now. That is gross. Please wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. It's just hygienic. Anyway, now that Squirps is all done, we have a new pixel. And this is Fleep. As his name would suggest, he can flip things. There's a few different uses for this, but for the story purposes, if you ever see these like rifts in space, he can flip them around and reveal secret passages, switches, etc. And this just lets us get to the end of the level nice and quickly.
2箇所ぐらいですかね、使うの。3箇所?3箇所ですね。お楽しみに。さあ、4の3は、宇宙な感じですね。そうですね、シューティングが始まります。お腹が空いてくる時間ですか？そうですね、ちょっとお腹空いてきましたね。ここで、天然のキラキラ落としを回収します。これは、後で使いますね。結構重要なアイテムです。そうですね。
Another one of these floating out in space levels. This one is a little bit different in terms of our overall objectives. We're going to reveal this gate here. We're going to end up doing this twice, because Squirps himself is the key.
すると扉が現れて先に進めると。あ、でまた同じようなバツ印があって扉が現れるかと思いきや、今度はタマラのシルエットが2つあります、ね。
Unfortunately, this time we need 2 Squirps, so we can't get through here just yet. So we need to find a way to get a second Squirps. And Squirps, I don't remember exactly how he goes about it, but in terms of how we're supposed to figure this out. But long story short, we need to get him a snack. There's a candy bar somewhere out in here, being sold at a convenience store in space. Because if there's one thing that you can count on that will eventually somehow find its way into space, it's a 7-Eleven. This guy talks about how he doesn't get very many customers. Anyway, so you buy a snack for Squirps, and it lets him duplicate into 2, which I'm not going to even try to make sense of that.
問題点しかないですね。
なんとこの宇宙には公衆トイレもコンビニもあります。
生活できちゃいますね。
生活水準低すぎない。
Yeah, another pretty standard level. The space world, I think 4.2 is okay. 4.1 and 3 are pretty rudimentary, but I do think there's some really interesting tech on the next level, so it is all worth it in the end.
美味しいものを要求されるので、さっき買ったスイートチョコバーを渡します。
これ間違って別のアイテム渡すと捨てられちゃうので、一応注意ですね。
そうですね。そしてタマラが分身すると。
10コインのチョコバーを食わせると宇宙人は分身します。覚えておきましょ
う。どうせならもう最初から5体ぐらいでいってほしいんですけど。ビームが強くなるんで。
So that's 4-3.
これで4の3ですかね、クリアしました。
4の4ですね。ここも、今年発見されたかなり、大きなバグ技が。
But finally, we're at the ending level of Chapter 4, which is the Woe Zone. It's a neat little level. I like its aesthetic of green and white and all these like neon colors to it. There's a lot of interesting gravity shenanigans that go on in this level as well, which can lead to a couple of interesting little strats here and there. Also has an interesting piece of music that plays here as well. So a thing you're actually going to see Igrmi do a few times is he's going to turn into 3D with not really a particularly obvious reason why. In some of these cases, it's just to find a door. In other cases, I believe it's to burn the meter a little bit. Like here, he has to use it, but yeah. Yeah, I do encourage you to check out this game's soundtrack because it is genuinely very good. I don't like it quite as much as I like Thousand Year Doors or Paper Mario 64s, but I think it holds its own in the series. there's these portions here where he turns 3D, and I believe that is mainly for the purpose of decreasing the 3D meter. Because he's actually gonna want to deliberately take a point of damage from the he's gonna want to take a point of damage here very soon. So he's gonna do a Thudley jump here, and then a second jump here, and then buffer it to where he takes a point of damage just before he gets next to that chest. And there's a very brief window in which he can open that chest while it's while the gravity is reversed. So that saves quite a bit of time.
あれも本来別のドアから入ってきて抜けあっちの方に行くんですが、それをスキップしてしまうと。
そうですね。ここで重力が変わるブロックが置いてあります。
The screen in particular also has a couple of really interesting strats. So he's going to reverse gravity in such a way that he gets over to the right side, and then he's going to go through this door. And once again, he's going to use 3D and the damage boost trick to take damage once the 3D meter runs out, and then as he does that, it's going to give him a little bit of extra height and a very brief window in which he can open this chest. So very well executed there. But now that he has the key that he needs, he's going to go do this, hit this block that rotates gravity 90 degrees twice, and then he's going to bounce off of this enemy here to hit it a third time so the gravity points upwards. This saves a few seconds, and it's a really neat looking strat. That allows him to get to the top there without nearly as much movement in that room.
知らない声が聞こえてきたと思ったら、その声の主は誰だ？
誰だ？
The Scorps is telling us a little bit more about the woe zone, but in comes Mr. L, Count Bleck's latest minion, who does not resemble anything. Original character, do not steal. Alas, I believe he only has 40 HP, and Bowser is giga-busted in this game, so he only takes 5 hits to kill. But that's not it for the bosses. Because next we get to go into outer space as his Brobot, as the name is, breaks through the barrier, and we're gonna have to fight him. Now, Brobot has, I think, like 200 HP, but since we have Scorps just repeatedly like on auto fire, this fight is still fairly easy. It's meant to be kind of like a space shooter level, but it's pretty easy. Another thing you can actually do here is damage boost and repeatedly Thudley ground pound on Brobot here, and each hit does 13 damage. I believe if he had a better grind, he would have been able to do even more. But oh, he's actually taken so much damage over the run, he needed to heal there. Yeah, 200 damage dealt a lot quicker than I think they intended for you to do it. I think they just intended for you to just fire on him. But that takes care of Robot, and that's the boss of chapter 4 taken care of. So in terms of just chapter count, we're basically halfway through the game.
攻撃力がちょうど5になるので、だいたい敵の HP が5倍、5の倍数、10の倍数になっているので、ちょうどいい感じになるっていうのもありますね。
そうですね。
爆殺の回数が減るので。
And so guarded by the statue is the 4th Pure Heart. Now, we're not quite halfway through the run in its total time, but that's partly because the last chapter is just very loaded with cutscenes, which unfortunately you couldn't skip. And unfortunately, unlike Paper Mario 64, you do have to mash to advance text.
そして5つ目のピュアハートをゲットと。
間、1時間50分足らずで4面までクリアしました。残り2時間。
But
そうですね。一応予定タイムはあと2時間半ということで。
yeah, so record in this game is currently 3:51:18, and Igrumi's time is 3:51:27, so he's 9 seconds off of record. I don't believe this run really has a particularly good chance of PBing, just given that he failed on the green bridge skip in 1-2 for like a minute and a half or so, but I think it would just generally take a rough run for him to get lower than like a 4, or to get worse than like a 405, 410.
本当連打は疲れます。マジで疲れます。
本当に大変ですよこれ。
The dialogue between Nastasia and Black there kind of just reveals a little bit about his true intentions, as well as his history.
さあ、狭間タウンに戻ってきたということは、ここはまだか。
But essentially, his goal is kind of a reveal. I don't know if they were stated to have changed or if he just lied to his minions, but effectively his goal isn't to replace the universe. It's basically to just end everything.
妙ななんかリアルさみたいなものがありますね。
Anyway, so Tippy's gotten sick,
とりあえずアンナは見ておくという。
and we need to be without her services for a little bit.
カメルストーンを探しに行きます。そして、裏狭間タウンという場所に向かっていきます。この狭間タウンと対になる存在ですね。そしてそこに向かうのに、本来はギミックを解いていくのですが、ちょっと今回はね、また壁を抜けまして、そのギミックをこう。
So he's gonna do a gold bar clip to get to the back part of town here.
裏狭間タウンに向かっていきます。
抜けられる壁は抜けてしまう。
Just get around the seams here.
上の狭間を進んで、
And so this pathway in the back of town leads to the chapel, cathedral, but there's a specific set of blocks that you're supposed to hit here that will open the gate to the mirror world of flip side, which gets you to the inverted part of town, which is flop side. So the remaining 4 heart blocks are in flop side here. The general color palette in Flopside is a little bit darker. The music is a little bit flat compared to the more sharp kind of tune that plays in Flipside. And yeah, so we need to find the last few heart blocks in Flopside. Thankfully, there is an NPC here that will create a shortcut. And so this is where the use of the HP plus that Igrmi went out of bounds for a while back. This is where it gets used. He's also going to buy a couple of items, including a time stop, and I think it's just a power. I forget the name of the item. It gives you a bonus. Gosh. Anyways, this is Nolrim, which is Merlin's brother, and his name is of course Merlin spelled backwards. So he just gives a little bit more background information on Flopside. But here in 3D, there's this weird-looking chicken nugget fellow who you can pay 300 coins, and he'll open up a pipe between Flipside and Flopside, so it doesn't take nearly as much work to get there. Because this ultimately doesn't take a lot of time to set up, and you can get the money pretty easily, it's worth it to do this shortcut, considering you have to come back to Flopside 3 more times.
それが、ハートフエルを売ることで用意できるといった感じですね。
昔はもっといろんなアイテムを集めていろいろ売ってたんですが、今はハートフエル一つだけで賄えてしまうと。
そうですね。楽になりましたね。そしてこの、はめるストーンに、ピアハートをはめている間、数少ない休憩タイムなので、皆さんも、座りっぱなしにならないように休憩をするといいと思います。引き続き頑張っていきましょ
う。なんだかんだで2時間って座りっぱなしきついですからね。2時間座りっぱなしで集中してゲーム。
そうですね。で、帰りは戻る土管と。で、今、浦狭間タウンから戻る土管を使いましたが、狭間タウンの、狭間タワーに戻ってきます。で、アンナが、ちゃんと復活したということで、5面に入っていきます。5面の舞台はストンストン村ということで、石に関する文明がめちゃめちゃ発達した村となっておりますね。
そうですね。ちょっと原始的な感じの。
原始的に見えるんですけど、なんかテレビ石とかいう石あるんですよね。本当に映像が映ってる石があります。
原始的なのか科学的なのかわからないですけど、見た目は原始みたいな。
そうですね。
I seem to have my mic muted. So this is going to be chapter 5. This is the land of the Cragnons, who are these kind of prehistoric cave people looking dudes, but they're
そのまま落ちてしまいました。
there's a little bit more to them. Also, I feel like this whole thing is kind of an anachronism because there's a number of ones that like don't talk like cave people. So
認識してどういう持っていき方
and essentially the background of this area is they're revealing that they're at war with this group called the Florosapiens, who are these kind of anthropomorphic flowers that have been basically fighting and essentially kidnapping the Cragnons.
話としてはロック人っていう種族とハナーンっていう種族の争いみたいな感じなんですかね。
そうですね。ただ、ハナーンの方が、ロック人を連れ去っていってしまっているので、ロック人の方から、助けを求められたという感じになります。
The Florosapiens were, I think, originally presented as fairly peaceful, but they've started to go mad and attack the Cragnons. You see here they have them basically just being taken against their will as prisoner.
そして、この川かなり汚いですね。
Meanwhile, you can kind of see that the void is looming over the world even larger than ever before.
ここもまあ、普通ならピーチ姫の出番なのですが、届いちゃうんですね。
地味に難しい技なんですけど、ギリギリ届く。
そうですね。そして今のブロックは、左、右、中と、叩くことによって土管が出現します。これはどっかでヒントを教えてもらえたはずです。
戻ったらロック人、橋の上にロック人がいて教えてくれるんだったかな、確か。
確かそんな感じでしたね。そしてここにもまたブロックを叩くパズルがあるのですが、まあそんなのはお構いなしと。
This
gold bar clip here saves quite a lot of time.
向こう側に
Saves a fairly annoying portion of this level, and so just skips straight to the end.
無限ジャンプレベルを超えてたんですが、抜けれる壁があってしまったと。壁が抜けれるようになってしまったなら、壁は抜けてしまえということですね。
簡単になりましたね。無限ジャンプはまあ1回やるごとにまあ1フレーム技になるんですが、壁抜けの方に関しては、まあ、1と2を同じフレームで押すだけなので、 かなり簡単になります。
本当画期的な技を見つけてくれたもんですね。
いや私もびっくりしましたよ。これ偶然見つけたんですけど、抜けたって思って。ここでスコアを稼いでいきますね。こんな感じかな。
And so this is one of the more interesting point grinds in the game. So what he's doing is he's repeatedly channeling hits on this enemy's attack here, which he can do basically infinitely. And each one only gives an additional 10 points, so he tries to build a combo to where he goes into it with like 1,500 points already and just repeatedly getting like 2,000 a pop. And his aim is to get these 3 tablets here, which he needs to get a pixel that's used to get to the ending of this level.
今手に入れたのが水の石板で3つのうちの1つですね。残りの2つの石板も集めていきます。
So you see the giant cardboard box with eyes. Once again, a throwback to 1,000-Year Door. You need the hammer to break those. Thankfully, though, you don't need like an upgraded hammer. The hammer in this game is actually a pixel.
取れました。なんということでしょう。これなかなか説明が難しいんですが、FLC というバグ技になっております。3D の状態で、めくるルンを使うと、こう強制的に 2D に戻されるんですが、その間って基本的にこう操作を効かないんですね。そのカメラが回転している間は。ただ、特定の、条件下で、めくるルンの発動がキャンセルされることがあります。その時は、カメラが 3D から 2D に戻る時のカメラの回転は起こるんですけど、その回転している間も操作ができるという状態になります。そして判定としては 2D にいる状態となるので、その横から見るとこの左の方にあるつよつよドリンクとマリオの位置が重なってたわけですね。だから判定は 2D なので、それが重なっていると見られて、今取れたという感じになります。難しいですね。
難しいですね。本来は今通ってきた扉の右側にあります。
So it's time for a rematch with Ochunks, and this time he's getting his buddy to give him a bit of a power boost. So it's the first time we kind of see the AI enemies working together.
戦いづらいということで、戦いやすい空間を用意してくれました。
優しいですね。
なんでこんな丁寧なんでしょうね。
Of course, once again, forgetting that the Super Dimension also powers up Bowser, so once again, Ochunks is going to be an exceedingly easy fight, especially because we have Bowser.
今のは決まった流れになっております。
Again, the bosses in this game are, unfortunately, one of its more underwhelming aspects, just on account of how the game just kind of gives you some really busted options, namely Bowser and Carrie, which is kind of the most infamous combination in this game, because Carrie fixes pretty much all of Bowser's weaknesses.
それをしなくてもよくなるというバグ技があります。できるかどうかわかんないんですけど、できませんでしたね。今なんかちょっと変な動きをしたと思うんですが、
So he travels around the statue, which is alluded to in an earlier hint. That gets him the 3rd tablet that he needs to finish this level off.
しかもこれ原理は誰も分かっていませんが、セットアップだけはあります。不思議なバグ技になりますね。
謎が過ぎるバグ技ですね。
本当に謎ですね。さあ、石板を3つ集めたのでフェアリーを召喚しに行きましょう。
ここ次元技で中の迷路みたいなところを通っていくんです
So
が、
it's kind of neat how the ladders here, you don't actually have to wait for them to visually appear. The hitbox of the ladder just appears regardless as soon as you hit the block. And so up here you get the fire, earth, and water tablets into these pillars, and this is going to get us Cudge, the hammer power-up pixel. So rather amusingly, you can type in a message. In here, he just screams. I can bet the Japanese chat is just spamming because that's pretty much what he types in there. But yeah, you can make Cudge just yell pretty much anything. My favorites, one of my favorites I always saw people do was as an homage to SpongeBob, where they would just have him yell Finland. But I don't think there was a bid war, unfortunately, for what to make Cudge shout. So instead, he just made him scream. And that's 5-2. 5-3 is going to be a bit of a long level. It's a bit of a doozy, to be honest. There's sort of a throwback to Super Mario RPG in this level. Namely that there's these long minecart sections. So this guy here is an Indiana Jones looking ripoff. His name is Flint Cragley. And compared to the other Cragnons who generally speak with a sort of like a Hollywood caveman speech, you know, with like kind of, you know, busted simple grammar. He speaks normal English or Japanese. I'm not sure what the cave people speak in the Japanese version, just because I don't know how Japan's film industry does that. I know there's some little technical things they do, like robots when they speak in their like monotone robot voice. In Japanese, they tend to have it typed out in katakana, which is not something that is typically, like, writing is typically not done in katakana for things other than loanwords. So when a character is typing when all of their text is written in katakana, it's kind of meant to show that they're not quite human or not quite normal. Not sure how they do that for like, you know, the caveman trope. Anyways, here's a nice handbrake, I suppose, for Igrmi, because there's just a sitting on a minecart and doing nothing. There's no honking the horns or having to angle it any particular way like Mario RPG, but it is there, and it's kind of a nice little break. So rather peculiarly, there's a little glitch there. I didn't even see this in the runner's PP, so I'm guessing this is a really new strat. But yeah, you just flip to 3D at that particular part, and that NPC notices you and agrees to head back. Essentially, the whole point of this level. The whole point of this level is you need to go find Flint's film crew, and then he'll reward us with a key.
さあ、2人目の部下を探しに行きます。ここは、3D で手前に進んでいくので、何があるかをしっかり覚えておかないと、かなり、難しい感じになっております。
見えてから反応したらちょっと遅いんですよね。
そうですね。さあ、またトロッコですが、こっちはちょっと短いですね。さあ、しれっと分岐がありまして、ここで 3D にして左を押しておかないと、分岐を左に行くことができないと。
そうですね。トロッコだと思って油断してると、過ぎちゃっちゃうので。
そうですね。外れの道に出されることになっちゃいます。ここにもう一人の部下がいます。ここは角抜きをするとちょっとだけ速くなったりするのですが、あんまり安定するもんではないのでやります。
角抜けも結構シビアな技なんですよね。
All right, so now we found the film and microphone guy, or the cameraman, and I don't know what they call the stagehand with the microphone. Anyways,
このままで大丈夫です。
そうですね。では勝手に戻ってくるので。
one last minecart portion. Kind of neat thing you can do is you can turn things 3D. But there's only one point at which it's actually useful to do so.
いいですよね。多分こう全体として一応内部的には 3D になってて、表示上だけ 2D になってるみたいな処理をしてるんだとは思います。
そうですね。さあ、クルーの2人も、探したので、隊長に挨拶しに行きます。鍵をもらいに行きます。
ですね。今見えた鍵ドアの鍵をデビットはこの部下の2人が持ってると思い込んでいます。
思い込んでるということは、つまり
これでようやく先に進めるぞと。部下2人に聞いても、いや持ってないよと言われて、ポケットを漁ると、自分が持っていたと。最初から出してほしかったですね。
そうですね。完全なロスですね。誰か隊長スキップを考案してください。
ここでなんとピーチ姫に交代します。
So he's going to switch over to Peach, and this is one of the few times Peach actually gets to shine. Her ability to hover actually allows her to skip over portions that would otherwise be extremely annoying to get through. And so by using her hover, it's actually faster than taking the minecart and dealing with all these loops.
このように、乗ってこに乗った状態で、ジャンプして空中に乗ってこう降りると。そしてその状態で飛ぶと、乗ってこの
So overall, it's like this is one of the few parts where it's faster to use her.
これによって、速い速度で長い距離飛ぶことができるわけですね。
そうですね。さっきも言った通り、トロッコは速いのは速いんですけど、ループとかが発生する分、どうしても回り道じゃないですけど、ロスになることもあるので、それならピーチ姫で行ってしまった方が早かったということですね。
そうですね。さあ、ここでゲームマウスに交代しておきます。もう何が起きるかお分かりですね。さあ、この先のエリア、行ってしまうともう、なんか、フェアリーの仲間にして、ドドンタスと戦って、怪しげな葉っぱを手に入れて、
So finally, we're on to chapter 5-4, which is the lair of the Florosapiens.
進行になるのですが、
Um,
この流れも全部バッサリ飛ばします。
there's one of the biggest skips still in this run, is in this level.
4分ぐらい短縮する大技になります。でも、 葉っぱがあるかどうかを判定するところにも直行しますね。
So there's normally a section where
で、ここで、
you need to prove that you are
頭に葉っぱをつけているので、
either a Florosapien or you've been possessed by a Florosapien, as indicated by this one, this Kragnon with a leaf on his
ここから
head.
登場している壁抜け、そして、FLC、
You would need to get said leaf on your head by defeating. There's a rematch without Chunks with one of them on his head, and it kind of is meant to make him super powerful and lose his abilities. But
入れてしまうなら仕方ない。
in just doing a gold bar clip and just kind of
2つのバグ
finagling around that screen there, he's able to just bypass the security measure and skip that entire portion of the level and the mini boss.
このブロックの色を、ブロックを叩いて色を変える。
So the puzzle on this area is you turn 3D,
が壊すとき本
and
モーションが入るんですが、画面外でそれを行うことによってモーションキャンセルですね。地味な技。
you set these switches to the color matching the painting atop.
そしてここで
Unfortunately, enemy placement there is really annoying. So it's gonna do a very quick gold bar clip here to get out of bounds to get to this next switch, and then fall out of bounds so that he lands right next to the door. It's just a minor time save, but still a neat one nonetheless. And we're on to the boss, which is King Crocus the Fourth.
使ったものですね。穴に落ちた時に、戻ってくる位置というものがあるんですが、
He's been orchestrating the kidnappings of the Kragnons, and he's kind of gone mad at this point. But he only has 50 HP, which at this point seems
切ると、壁を抜けたところに戻ってくるといった感じになります。
it seems at this point to be a little low with how much damage we can do.
キングハナン戦ですね。
Yeah.
これは
As mentioned in chat, part of the skip that I haven't missed, which has changed since at least the run that I watched for reviewing for this game, the
20ダメージと与えることで、
Leap Ledge clip, which I reviewed this game talking to Yoshizilla a little bit, and I think he briefly mentioned it at one point.
この形態で
But effectively, you can just,
いう感じになります。
do some weird things with Fleep
これも割と
and extend your horizontal hitbox.
簡単に倒せるボスですかね。
そうですね。
Anyway, so you've done 60 damage, and Crocus is now croaked. And the Florosapiens here who haven't gone mad reveal that he was actually a very nice, benevolent king, and that the real problem is that the Kragnons were bad all along.
この水を吸って、キ
Uh,
ングハナンが
more specifically, they've just been polluting the water with their trash, and it's just slowly caused the plant people who depend on it to live to go insane.
特にさらわないよっていう。
And so Cragley hears of this and agrees that he will break the news story to the Kragnons to hopefully get them to pollute less.
で6つ目のピュアハートを入手。そして、ちょっとだけ触れましたが、置いていったフェアリーミニミは
And because the Florosapiens recognize us as the heroes, and that, I mean, we're really just in this for the pure hearts. We don't really care about any factions in this conflict. They just give us the pure heart because, you know, we're collecting them, and we kind of need to save all of the universe.
3年半で大きく変わりました。3年半前は1匹でした。
多いですね。
ミニミがだいたい2年前ぐらいで、
そうですね。
キエマースが1年前ですかね。1年前。
ゲーマースが一番最近のやつですね。
そうですね。どうしても鉄格子を抜ける方法が見つからなかったけどって感じだったんで。
はい。ゲーマーススキップに関しては、電流のところを通るのと、鉄格子を通るところがあるんですが、実は電流を通る方は、緊急キノコを使うだけで通ることができます。 ただ、鉄格子の方がどうしても通れなかったということで、まあ、発見まで時間がかかっていますね。
気が済んだ結果、なぜか抜けられるということで。
上の方がなぜか抜けられるということが判明したと。
Kind of over the course of this game, Tippy's been slowly remembering her past.
これまたバグ技になります。
And she kind of alludes to it more and more. Just like shouting things
逆にエレベーターを使って
incomprehensibly.
見ると
So, doing yet another gold bar clip to just save time in this portion.
壁を抜けてもう直接2階に
These don't actually save like a ton of time, but because this skip is relatively easy to do and it does save time, it is worth it to go for.
入って裏技タイムへ行けてしまうと。
So thankfully, setting up the shortcut back in Chapter 5 pays dividends in 6, 7, and 8.
前でデアルが待ってます。
あ、そうなんですね。
しかも扉の中に入るとその中にもデアルがいます。
And as we've seen with this hammer block, the next remaining pure heart is not very far.
新たに仲間にしたハンマーを使って
One of the things I've just always found kind of interesting in this run is the way things are optimized. Like, you have to get used to both 2D and 3D movement because
耳を使うギミック
you want to minimize the amount of times you turn 2D or 3D to doing it exactly when necessary.
があるので出っ張りがあるので
So you want to save, time by not having to switch over. So getting used to just all that is makes for a lot of optimizations. And if you ask me, I think the thing that makes a lot of speed games interesting is when they both have like really big skips, but also a lot of like little optimizations that you just build up as you get better over time.
そして、先ほど、デアールとのイベントをスキップすると言いましたが、実はそれの影響で、このハメールストーンをはめた後にある本来はあるイベントが、スキップされます。
2つのイベント会話をスキップできるということで、結構1分弱ぐらいですかね、スキップになります。短縮になります。
そうですね。ちなみにこれ壁抜けが見つかる前は、無限ジャンプでこう風間タウンの壁の判定を乗り越えてやるといった形になっておりました。
無限ジャンプ技も結構減ったからですね。一旦は軽くなったんですが、
So chapter 6 has a
ジャンプがどうしてもフレーム技なんで、
kind of like a Edo Japan motif going on.
感じですね。
This is called the Samurai Kingdom in English. I guess it's kind of like a reference to samurai. It's my guess is the way they call it that.
そうですね。
But the first thing our characters notice the second that they get here is that the void in the background is really big.
空にある次元の穴ちょっ
It's
と
like this dimension is basically
飛んでいます。
really close to just being swallowed up by the void. Of course, because players seem to just absolutely love the Pit of 100 Trials, they decide that this area is meant to be a gauntlet where you fight 100 straight warriors, and at the end you'll meet the Samurai King, who is holding the Pure Heart, which is your prize for clearing it.
飛んで
Which we clearly know we don't really have a lot of time for this.
上がると同時に乗ってこいに乗っちゃいます。
And it's basically just 100 back-to-back duels.
乗ってこいに乗らなくてよくなるので、まあ、ちょっとだけ短縮になりますね。
あそこで帰ってきたときは、あの人、こいつにも勝ててないんですよね。
そうなりますね。武器とか何も持ってなかったんでしょうか。
So suffice it to say, this chapter is going to have a lot of fighting in it.
そうですね。
3人と8匹いますから。
最強の布陣ですね。
正々平等もクソもないな。
そして、真の勇者かを、見極めるために、100人と戦ってくれと言われます。
A lot of these rooms are going to look very
そういう
samey.
ことをしている時間はない。
The strats for each one differ a lot. or differ significantly enough, but they don't differ a ton. No, they don't differ like a lot. They differ enough to where you have to kind of keep track of things. But for the most part, Bowser being OP is like the strat.
剣で攻撃されるより前に、踏むことができます。で、青いのはジャンプをしてきます。このようにこちらも相手がジャンプするかどうかわからないですが、一旦ジャンプをしておくと。で、相手がジャンプしてきたら、一旦諦めて、で、相手がジャンプしなかったらもうそれで踏みに行くといった感じになります。
敵の動きとかもで変わってくるので、運も絡んでくる。
そうですね。
So I love Bowser's stylish command there. Looks really goofy.
そうですね。そういえば、5の2で、あれ、天然で原子の実が落ちてるので拾おうと思ってたんですが、忘れちゃいましたね。ちょっと危ない。慎重に行きたいと思います。
Yeah, kind of the stretch from, I feel like 5-2 to 6-1. And kind of Chapter 6 as a whole, that in terms of gameplay, there's not really a whole lot that goes on in this chapter. So, if anyone has questions in chat, feel free to, like, ask. I can't necessarily promise I'm the best one to answer them, but, story stuff I can probably fill in. Some speedrun history. I have followed this game for a while, up until, like, a couple of years back.
こいつら一人一人ちゃんとした名前ではないけど、面白い名前がついてたりするんで、調べてみると面白いかもしれないです。
ここにもしっかり名前がついております。
Yeah, as mentioned in chat, the reason I say like these fights do start to get a little bit different is some of these enemies start to play around your fire a little bit better. Which they try. Like, you can breathe fire on them, but it's like they'll dash away from it, but they'll kind of walk right into it as soon as you let go sometimes.
山の上にあいつ攻撃避けたりもするんで、排除もしづらいんですよね。
そうなんですよね。確率でこう爆弾に化けるので厄介です。次がラウンド10になりますね。10の倍数のラウンドは
And they do start wearing spike helmets, yes, but
でかいし体力も
when you have carry, it doesn't really make a difference.
被弾注意なんですが、でかいということは動きが鈍いので、
結構簡単に倒せますね。
I do think that this kind of setup does build up some urgency. Like, they do just enough with it where, you feel like you're racing against time just as much as you're going through the gauntlet of guys.
そうですね。そしてここは一番最初にやったように戦闘終了と同時に乗ってこうに乗るやつができます。基本的には戦闘終了時に乗ってこうに乗ってると強制的に降ろされるんですが、さっきみたいにこう戦闘終了に合わせて乗ってこうに乗ると、その状態を維持できるといった感じですね。
I believe it's when we get to fight number 17 that we actually kind of get some interesting stuff. So we are almost there.
結構外観で特徴が分かったりもするので、
そうですね。
攻略する際は参考にしてください。緑のやつが通常は走ってしかしないみたいな感じで、青のやつは飛ぶみたいな感じで特徴があったりします。
はい。
あと武器によっても攻撃力が高かったり、 針がついてたらジャンプが効かなかったり。
あとは後ろの方だとこう次元技をしてくる敵もいますね。
そうですね。
相手も同じようにジャンプしてきたときはもうこちらもジャンプをするといった感じで青いのは対処していきます。
これがラウンドいくつですか？ 16 ですね。
16ですね。次バグ技があります。
さあ、あと73体ですかね。
そうですね。
74から80か。
Alright, so on to fight 17. You're gonna notice he switches to Mario. I was like, that's a change. Well, the thing is, you can actually perform a gold bar clip. And, this can just skip the fight, which is actually worth doing. In this particular one, because it actually is more optimal than just not.
よしよし。来ましたね。あ、ここなんと戦闘をスキップできて向こうの扉も開いてお
So
ります。
just skip the fight entirely.
ということで、この戦闘はスキップできます。
なぜ
間違え
か
た。
ここだけスキップできます。
そうなんですよね。
So this fight's kind of
同
cute.
じことを
This
する
little
と、
chibi warrior.
他のところでもまあ同
You
じ
just
ようなことが
beat
でき
with
る
a
んです
hammer.
けど、向こう行っても扉が開いてないんですね、なぜか。ただ17回目は、ラウンド17のところは開いてます。不思議なことに。
本当に不思議なことに。
なんででしょうね。あ、そして、
And so we're finally on the last
マリオとハマハンマも結構強い組み合わせになり
the
ます。
last of the fights that we're going to be doing in this chapter, because on number 20, things are going to get a little peculiar.
強いですね。あ、マリオのままにしておいた理由は、もう一回壁を抜けるからなんですね。
そうです
ここは
ね。
20
So first he's going to perform another gold bar clip.
終わった後に
And so this is supposed to be a fight, but what happens is the void in the background shakes even more,
きついってなかった。よし。
and it kind of just informs everyone that Doom is like kind of upon us,
ここだけ
and so we really need to get that pure heart. So basically, all the fighters just stand down, and we don't have to deal with them anymore. So it's just 5 more screens until the end of chapter 6-1.
で、本来なら、ノアール伯爵がもう出てきて、世界を消滅させてやるっていう話をするのですが、そのくだりを丸々カットします。かなりの短縮になっております。
本来は20人目が有能なので、試合が終わった後にこんなことしてる場合じゃないって、あいつなんですかね、親方様みたいなやつを呼びに行くんですが、そのイベントを丸々スキップしてるので、ただただ繊維ただただ繊維を失ってるやつを素通りしていくだけになります。
And so that's chapter 6-1. A lot of fighting and a lot of repetition, but does still have a couple of little skips and optimizations and all that. So naturally, given the significantly increased sense of urgency, the Sammer King comes to greet us and say, hey, the pure heart you're looking for is in this treasure chest up here. Of course he lied. And who do we know who can impersonate people? So a familiar face. Also, time for more, or no, this one isn't the neck twist fight. She does that again later. Of course, she's really easy, but her point isn't even really to fight you. Her entire point here is just to stall for time. Because she can teleport. And the rest of this universe is kind of just giga doomed. And although it's not especially interesting from a gameplay standpoint, I do really think this section just
さあ、ここも
it works well from a gameplay to narrative perspective because you feel like you're just racing against the end of the world here to try and, at the very least get what you need from this universe before you depart.
次かな。揺れが非常に激しくなるエリアに入ります。
So it's just there's that you know this chapter just seems like unending. It's just that sense of just,
だということで、
how many rooms do I have to go through? It's like how much time do I have? And unfortunately, you just don't have enough.
なんとピュアハートが手に入る前に
So
攻
like
撃してしまいました。
yeah, the Samurai Kingdom is just screwed. And that's it. Like you're not able to make it. And it just adds just a whole different sense of scale because you think this whole game like nothing bad's gonna happen.
なんか話の整合性が取れてないですね。
It's like we save the day before anything really bad happens,
ワー
but
ルドは知らないんですけどね。
you're barely even able to get out with your lives, let alone the pure heart. And so Tippy here says that you can open this door and see what lies there, but it can't be good.
そこはマジで何にもない世界が広がっておりますね。
And so this is effectively what befalls any land that has been consumed by the void.
すごくいい表現だ
So
な。
this portion is just straight up going right. Everything is just a white void with only faint outlines of what was once there. It's a dull, slow portion of the game, but it really just sets in just, hey, if we don't save the world, like this could happen to every universe.
起こしながら真っ白な空間
And so it's powerful in its own way, and I think for that it elevates chapter 6 for me personally, amongst the ranks of this game. Not because it's especially fun, but because it does a story beat in a very interesting way. So we're basically just holding right and
長い。
trying to see if there's any way any way you can
そうですね。
salvage the pure heart.
今石が見えたので、あ、
演出みたいな感じで。
そうですね。今石が見えたので、もうちょっとで終わりになります。 これ戦闘があるので、ペアリンを交代しておきます。あ、さっき見た人。
So you finally managed to hold right long enough to get to it, and Mr. L comes in to try and steal it from you. It's clearly lost most of its power, but he doesn't want any he doesn't want any funny business. He wants to make sure it stays out of the good guys' hands.
今回は最初からなんかロボットが使ってきますね。生身で戦っては勝てないっていうのも分かってるんでしょうね。
からこのエルガンダー HP がかなり下がっております。
Of course, once again, Brobot is a very easy boss fight. This time we don't fight him in space, but
これ、
Bowser plus Thudley it's like quadruple the damage of any other hit from Mario or Peach. So that fight's just really short and easy.
今60ぐらいしかないですよね。
And once again, Mr. L has completely failed.
156あるんだったと思います。
And we do get the pure heart, but we need to find a means to fix it because right now it is devoid of all of its power.
そうですね。
さあ、力を失ったピュアハートのようなものをゲットします。
果たしてこれは
Like, sure, we get it, but we didn't even get the little pixel dance. So that's how you know, stuff got real.
ど どうして勝てないんだろうと嘆いているところにリメーンが現れてボガンと。
And so Dementia, fed up with Mr. L's failures, decides he's pretty much just gonna kill him.
これにスタイルは死んでしまいます。
Bye bye.
そういえば3面終わりぐらいに出てきた2面終わりですかね。緑の人ってどうなった？
What happened to Mr. L?
セーブするか。
Game over.
いろいろと混乱してしまった。
もう
3面終わりの緑の人、あれどこ行ったんでしょうね。
どこ行ったんですかね。敵に捕まってたからまだ捕まってるんですかね。
ああ、まあそうかもしれないですね。ああ、結構疲れてきました、腕が。
あと1時間20分ぐらい頑張ってください。
結構あるな。
ほんと連打がですね、腕にくるんですよ、これ。
で、ここに交代して、デアールの家に向かいます。
Oh, they're just still falling off of the tower. This is ultimately the fastest way to get to Merlin's house. And of course, we mentioned how we failed to secure the pure heart before it was sucked into the void and drained of all of its energy. So we need to come up with a way to fix it. But before we can do that, Dementio just kind of comes in and does to us what he did to Mr. L. It just straight up kills us. Which begs the question why he didn't do that sooner. I don't know. Maybe he got more powerful in between chapters. Maybe he always could do that and didn't think it was necessary. I don't know. But yeah, we're dead. Just rip. Just game over. Game over, man. Game over. And so we wake up in Hades. Or Purgatory, or Hell, or whatever the image they're trying to go to. The location has the name Underwear, as in underwear? Which of course is kind of its own little kiddish pun. But yeah, we need to get the heck out of here. So here we're introduced to this little heart character. She's part of the species that occupies heaven, just called the Nimbys, and her name is Love Bee. We'll be seeing a little bit more of her later, because she has a unique sprite, and you know what unique sprites mean in games like this. So we're instructed to meet with the queen. You can actually pay the boat, the oarsman there to take you across, but it's just faster to jump across the water. To kind of give you a hint onto the imagery of this place, that little area that we were just at with the river is called the River Twigs, as a reference to the River Styx of Greek mythology. So this here is Queen Jades. She is sort of the overseer, kind of like a Hades type figure for kids. She's not actually a bad person, just kind of the one who helps those who have helps deal with the souls of those whose games are over, is the term that the game uses. So not dead, just whose games are over. They have run out of lives. So she tells us a couple things. One, she gets a phone call because you know it's hell because people still use flip phones. She gets a phone call talking of a NIMBY from the Over There, which is the game's heaven equivalent, went missing. Her name, and says that it's a NIMBY named Loveby, so we need to go find her. And she also mentions that some poor soul fell to the bottom of the river twigs. So there's a skip you can do to get out of bounds here by taking damage while swimming into the corner of swimming into a corner on with like a particular. There's like a particular quirk to the geometry there where he just gets out of bounds when he takes damage from being in 3D for too long.
これもまた悪いことですね。これはまだ3年前もあった悪いことですね。
そうですね。
So we find out that the soul who fell into the river twigs was Luigi.
さっきのバグ技偶然見つかってるんですよ
We finally get our brother, and
バグ技が多いですね。
he's basically the fourth hero of the Light Prognosticus. So now we have our full gang assembled. Although not right now, but we've gotten everyone. So we get Luigi for the final 2 chapters of the game.
偶然こうダメージを食らいながら角に突っ込んでスーッとすり抜けていったんですね。そのクリップがあるんですけど、なんか
Luigi's jump height is even more ridiculous than than Mario's. He also has a super jump where he flattens himself and jumps upwards. Anything that he hits on the way up takes double damage, which is good, and he does have his uses. I personally like him a little bit more than Bowser, just because I like using Luigi, but also because I think that that additional height makes for a unique little difference to him that without, losing too much damage.
水を入れたりすることで破壊して進むので、よし。本来ならここレンガブロックないんですけど、不正なことをして通ったのでレンガブロックがあります。そういうわけでもう一回同じことをして、角を抜けて戻る必要があります。
悪いことをしたなら悪いことをして変えないといけないと。
So now we need to go find Loveby
ここできっちり生産され
and return her to
結構スッて水抜けてるけど、ちょっと難しいんですよね、調整。
return her to the Queen Jades.
タイミングが難しいです。たまに失敗しますね。
1ミスあたり15秒ほどロスが。
Yeah, there's a lot of like little quirky strats there under the river that I like. A lot of using 3D to like, or using the switch from 2D to 3D to kind of reset your position.
ここから上に登ることができます。しれっとルイージが加入しておりますが、ルイージもこのアンダーランドに
Anyway, so Lovely's off singing by herself and talking of how her true prince will come in shining armor one day. And she's like, "Oh no, the mustache man has come. Are you my prince?" It's like, "No way, I will not accept this." It's like, "Tell me my name," and then you tell her name, and she freaks out. It's like, "No way, he's too hairy."
マリオのジャンプでは届かないような土管の、土管だったんですが、ルイージのジャンプなら届くといった感じになっております。そして、スーパージャンプができます、ルイージは。下を押しっぱなしにして、溜めて、下を離すとスーパージャンプが出ます。非常に高いところまで飛ぶことができます。
多分そのスーパージャンプ攻撃力が倍になるんです。攻撃判定があるんで、スーパージャンプを使って攻撃する機会もあるかもしれません。
そうですね。
And so, strangely enough, Loveby reveals that Jade is her mother.
ちゃんと謝れるの偉い。
偉い。呼び方はヒゲだけど。
And she's also repaired the pure heart, so as thanks, she will
元の世界に返してもらえるということで、ハザマタウンに戻ることができます。
as thanks she will send us back to where we came from.
ないと思うんですけどね。
あれ確実に死んでそうですね。
死んだと見せかけてワープをしたってことなんですかね。
こんな感じなんですかね。
本当に謎が多いディメンという男、ディメンというキャラクターがいます。
何を企んでいるのでしょうか。
So we have our 7th pure heart. We just need to figure out where the last one is. And we also need to get Peach and Bowser back because, I mean, what would a Mario game be without saving the princess? Again. Like, it's actually remarkable that this is the one time in the game where you really save the princess. Because, like, at the beginning of the game, like, she's been kidnapped, but she breaks herself out. Or at least, like, magic happens and she gets broken out. So you don't really have to save the princess until this point in the game. And Bowser too.
飛べることは利点じゃないですけど、ジャンプが高いのは利点です。
結局のところ無限ジャンプをすれば、マリオも高く飛べるんですけど、時間がかかるので、
そうですね。
少ない時間で高く飛べるルイージは結構優秀です。7つ目の、ハメル層に向かっていきます。ちなみにルイージは、乗ってこい乗ってるときは、持ち味のジャンプの高さが出ないので、こういう高い、足場の高いジャンプをするときは乗ってこう降りる必要があります。
ここが分かりやすく別のハメルストーンを持ってこれる、別のピュアハートを持ってこれるところなんですが、反応しません。
そうですね。背中が痛くなってきました。
あと1時間頑張ってください。
あと1時間か。ここでアンナが、ルミエールを止めなきゃと口走ります。ルミエールとは一体誰なのか、急に知らない名前が出てきましたね。
こういう病気の人なんでしょうか。
そして7面の最初の方はこのままルイージで進んでいきます。
Now we're finally under Chapter 7 proper, although it's going to be a familiar place.
そうですね。歩く速度もマリオとルイージは一緒なので。
So Chapter 7 just happens to take place in the underwear, which we just came from, which suggests that there's a pure heart here, so we need to go find it. Alas, 7-1 is a very basic level. So taking a full health heal there, considering it really hasn't healed much at all this like entire playthrough.
高くジャンプをする場所が多々あるので、乗ってこうには乗らず、ルイージで進んでいきます。
乗ってこうでそのまま渡るよりかはジャンプしてた方が早いですね。
そうですね。ちょっと遅くなります。こう水面をスーって進むと。
So in our search for the pure heart, we're tasked with basically escorting Love Bee back to her father, who's way up in the over there. And so, as a response, Jades offers a door to, start our pathway upwards and reach the over there. And I love that just like dead look on Love Bee's face. Just like, really, man? She has some very good expressions for how simple and short-lived a character her role is in the story.
きここに来るまででだいたい探索が終わってるのですぐスムーズにクリアできます。
She's kind of just like totally sassy the entire time.
アンダーランドですか？
There's a point where Jade just scolds her for being rude to you because she thought you were supposed to be her knight in shining armor.
スカイランドまで登っていく感じになります。ここ真っ暗で見えないですが、しっかり道は覚えているので問題ありません。
たまにギミックに引っかかってちょっとロスになったりもします。
ですね。
忘れた頃にやってくるアンナさんがあんなギミック。
Each of these doors, in classic Paper Mario tradition, is going to ask you a bunch of questions.
覚えれば大丈夫です。
And they're all kind of just basic trivia. This first one, just, basic question and answer. The next one has, like, a bunch of shapes and stuff that he asks you stuff on. Like, how many of this shape or how many of this color was there?
さて、恐ろしい魔物がやってきたので、退治してくれない
These NPCs here are guarding a strong, ferocious beast behind this door. So, we need to go solve that problem.
全然関係ない人に退治をしてくれって言って退治するって言って素直に開けちゃうってどういうことなんですかね。
絶対こんなことないですからね、普通は。
Of course, the tall, big, ferocious beast is just a very angry Bowser.
パパ様が暴れていたと。
And he gets very angry at seeing Stash
ただちょっと
without the
ここが
princess.
暗いから争いになって、
Now, once again, we have to hit him with pixels, but
ハマハンまで戦っていくことになります。
you can kind of just get him into a combat loop with where he tries to follow you, and then you just hit him with the back end of the hammer over and over again.
早いだろうということで、
I love that attack. He just flails his arms and belly flops you.
すげえ倒し方しましたね今。
Of course, for as strong as he is, he's big and dumb. And also, he doesn't hit you very hard because nothing in this game really hits you that hard.
背中で当てた方が結構簡単となります。
奴を倒してくれてありがとうって鍵をくれるんですが、多分後ろに一緒に歩いてると思うんですけど。
見えてないんですかね。
でランプに火をつけると明るくなるよって教えてくれるんですが、道は知ってるのでそんなものは必要ないと。
そうですね。通常プレイなら、クッパで火をつけることができます。火をつけると、この今かかってる黒いモヤモヤがもう全部飛んで、
And real quick, I haven't actually plugged this part of the marathon. Mostly because I'm not specifically volunteering for RTA in Japan. I'm just doing some commentary here. But this level is a lot of verticality and not a whole ton of tech. But this marathon is for Médecins Sans Frontières, the
1回目で左です。
also known as Doctors Without Borders, the same charity that SDQ has supported. So if what they're doing is something that
また固定です。
something that means something to you as a NGO, offering medical assistance in places that need it, kind of charity. They are raising funds for it over on the if you go to twitch.tv/RTA in Japan, there's a donate button below there to donate to the event. There's some incentives for upcoming runs.
確実に間違えないようにしたいですね。
And yeah, so it's a good cause. It's RTA in Japan's, like, I think second ever charity marathon. They historically hadn't been for charity.
少なそうですよね。
So if that's something that interests you, definitely check that out. If you're here at SpeedGaming, do consider giving SpeedGaming a follow. There's like always speedrunning content going on around here. So yeah. Sorry, usually when I do like hosting stuff, I have blurbs in front of me, but I'm just the commentator. I'm just like, shout outs to these things.
ダイエットも、貸してるので、まあ、
Anyway, there's these 3 witches here that'll give you,
飛ばされるんですが、ここが一番最初の扉です
I
ね。
think they each want you to do something in particular, and this one will teleport you to this guy who happens to have one of her books. So if you return the book to her, you can,
40回登ってきたところをまた登り直しです。
basically you need to return the book to her to advance the plot. Also, one thing that Igrmi avoids is it was kind of like rotating rectangles. Essentially, what they do is they grab you and they lift you upwards to an above platform. They're very slow, so Igrumi is going to want to avoid those as much as he possibly can. And thankfully, Luigi's super jump enables you to get really, really high up there.
ちなみに
So we're coming up on
誰が鍵を持ってき
this. I guess it's the second mini boss of this area. If you return the book, I know they're the 3 sisters. I forget what like their thing is. They're all like witches or hags or whatever they call them. But once you get the key, you can go through this door here. And coming up soon is the mid-boss of, I guess the mid-boss of the chapter itself. Not just Bowser, but like, there's an actual kind of like little novelty fight here. So for as many people who complained that this game wasn't an RPG, coming up very soon is the Underchomp.
でかいゴロンだったら上を飛び越えたりすることもできるんですけど、でかいのが転がってきちゃうとどうしようもないので。
そうですね。
これ3人目の門番戦ですね。
So it's a fight against 3 chomps, and it's designed to
このためのアイテムをちゃんと持ってきております。それがこちら。キラキラ落としです。キラキラ落としを使うとなんと1体あたり20ダメージを与えて。
It's designed to be like a Dragon Quest throwback, but yeah, each one dies to a super jump, so it's really easy.
本来はストーリー上、関わってこないですけど、ピッキョローンっていうフェアリングを使って大な特攻できるフェアリンがいたりもします。普通に使うと結構強いんですよね。なので途中で間違ってキラキラ落としを使っちゃったり撃っちゃったりすると割としんどいリカバリーを強いられることになると思います。
この場合はクッパに交代してヘビードンを連打しますね。確か。なるほど。
Alright, so now we're on the path to the over there.
また上に上に登っていくと。
This level, kind of like 3-3, kinda sucks. I do not like this level. There are levels I do really like in this game. But casually, anyways, this level is immensely vertical and just kind of tedious. The music here also is very dull compared to some of the rest of the soundtrack. It's not one of the finer pieces of music. Thankfully, because speedrunners generally have a good sense of the map of this level, it's actually really cool in the speedrun because you know where like the clouds above you are located, and Luigi's super jump allows for all kinds of little mini sequence breaks here.
インパクトも大きい技です。
そうですね。
It is okay to like the song in this area. I personally don't because I think it's repetitive, but I also think some of that has to do with my associations with me generally disliking this level casually. But I've always found it fascinating as in the speed run. Just because you can just do so much with Luigi in this level. I wish you had him for 3-3.
少なくとも7面の間に仲間になることでしょう。仲間に戻ることでしょ
まあ、おそらくそうでしょうね。
う。まあちょっと。
And so now we're going to have to do another Thudley jump to get across this gap here. Thankfully, this one's relatively easy.
まあ越えられるんでね。
You only have to do
なんか
like
ちょっと誰かの力を借りたいような
2 successful jumps there,
ま
or like 1 failed one and then 2 successful ones.
あまあ言ってしまうともうピーチ姫のいるエリアも通り過ぎました。ということでピーチ姫は残念ながら置き去りという形になります。
本来はピーチ姫は木の実を食べて眠っちゃってるんですが、
Just getting a few extra coins there.
言われてるのはピーチ永眠チャートですね。
ね、眠ったままにしちゃうとちょっとかわいそうですが、ただピーチ姫を仲間にしてから、おっと間違えたな。届かなかった。ちょっとスコアをここでちょっとだけスコアを稼ぐつもりだったんですが、失敗しましたね。このリフトに間に合えばいいのでロスではない。
Essentially, in this area, you're supposed to find Peach, but yeah, it's kind of a really annoying side quest. Thankfully, Thudley jumping is very OP.
積み方なのですが、まあそんなクモくんがいなくてもこちらは無限に飛べるということで、自分の力で上まで行っちゃおうというのがピーチ永眠チャートとなっております。さすがに集中するのにちょっと余りますね。
そうですね。フレーム技の無限ジャンプ、ここ最低でも40
So
回。
remember, this trick is frame perfect. Like, he has to get that second jump within like a 60th. He has like a 1/60th of a second frame window to be able to actually execute that. And this level and the next level are full of 2 of the most like intense Studley jumps in the entire run.
の箇所に雲、中間地点はあるんですが、中間地点までに無限ジャンプを連続で失敗して落ちてしまった場合やり直しになるので。
Very well executed on that one.
さすがかなりうまいですが。 すごいぞ。
I have the JRTA, or the RTA in Japan chat open, and everyone is just popping off about this. Yeah, this trick is really difficult. So getting that the way he did is very impressive.
今の全部1フレーム技です。
So the ultimate goal that you're supposed to do with this area that he just completely skipped is you're supposed to find Peach and you're supposed to give her the golden fruit. There's several other different kinds of fruits which will do funny things, like
ここでは仲間になりません。
one sets her on fire, but then just she goes back to sleep. One makes her giant, one makes her tiny, stuff like that. We need the you need the one that wakes her up, basically.
フレーム技を何十回やってようやく2分と。
Of course, we won't need to worry about getting her because A, she's not really needed for a lot in this game, especially when Thudley jumping is a thing. And B, just the game gives her back to you anyways, so you kind of see the over there is being taken over by these like skeleton people. There's been kind of just like a conflict going on, and a lot of the NIMBYs are in trouble, including Granby, sort of the overseer of the over there, and Lubby's father, so she's really freaked out. So you get a key here in Super Jump. That last level had a lot of the most intense, Dudley jumps in the run. But this level in particular has the biggest Dudley jump in the entire game in terms of how much it saves. This level normally is quite long. The idea is, I believe you're supposed to defrost those those NIMBYs here. And you need to find like the three, I don't know if they're like the sages or what, but there's three of them called Rebby, Yebby, and Blueby. So red, yellow, and blue, and they are the keys to activate the Rainbow Bridge. Finding them takes a very long time, but by Thudley jumping over to this portion of the level, you just save like 5+ minutes. It's pretty much the biggest time save in the entire run. Is that particular Thudley jump. So the fact he basically got it first try was very well done. And this time I mean it when I say 5 minutes, not just like the thing that I said saves 5 minutes, but really saves a minute and a half. So now they're going to war, and we need to get past them all. And in here is going to be the boss of this area. His name is Bone Chill. He's a big kind of dragon in a cart. Kind of a dumb-looking boss, if I'm completely honest. But the strat against this fight is... well, just watch and see. It's interesting. And so these two are talking about the location of the Pure Heart. Which I'll mention it in a second. I wanted you to watch this boss fight. But yeah, Granby was trying to guard the Pure Heart and deal with it. Or at least so we think. But yeah, here's Bone Chill. You Thudley jump, or you ground pound with Thudley and you hit him with a damage boost. And then you just kind of just bounce up, you bounce back and forth on the ceiling there. And just deal 100 damage to the boss in about a second. It is one heck of a strat. And so the story here reveals that Loveby is not actually Jade's and Granby's daughter. She's actually the Pure Heart all along. It was given sentience and life as sort of a means to protect it, so that, you know, people who come looking for it wouldn't find it. But yeah, in giving it sentience, they came to love it like their own daughter. And so yeah, they're all upset, and Loveby's like, I hate you. But they're like, no, we love you. And she's just like, I love you too. And then Granby, you know, scolds her for being rude. So this scene's kind of touching, because, you know, she realizes she basically has to give up her free will to for the greater good. like give up her life and her free will for the greater good. So she agrees to do that because, we need to stop the universe from ending. There are so many sad crying faces on the RTA or on the RTA in Japan chat. Yeah, like farewell. You may have saved a lot of people. So
いよいよ最終面です。
I don't know. I'm probably killing the moment, but whatever. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I've been at this for 3.5 hours. This is my second RTA in Japan run I'm Restream commentarying for. And then all the pixels danced. Alright, so Blick senses that our 4 heroes have gathered all the pure hearts and are on their way. So they need to set up their defenses for dealing with the good guys.
あと40分で終わるんですか。
早いですね。早いのかな。
ルミエールさんが出てきましたね。ルミエールとはノワール伯爵のことだったという真実が明かされたりもします。
ここに挟まるちょっとした話も実は結構ストーリー上重要だったりしますね。
So now Tippy realizes she needs to finally confront her former lover, who is no longer the same man that she knew. Has turned evil. So now that we have the 8 pure hearts, we need to find our way to the Dark Prognosticus and settle things once and for all.
勇者が4人揃って乗り込むというわけですね。
勇者4人とフェアリン8匹と。
後ろの次元の穴もかなり大きくなってます。
So the final door of the game is located atop the tower at flop side rather than the one in flip side because we've already opened all the doors there. So we need to find our way up to the top. Once we put in the final pure heart. I don't know if the game just doesn't let us get to this one yet, or if it's just like, oh, this is the wrong one. I don't know, it's one of those things where I wonder to myself, like, could I have gotten to this pure heart normally? Anyways, yeah, so the final heart block opens the path to the to Plex Castle, which, as I mentioned earlier, I really love the imagery. The music that plays in this area is very unique. It's got like this kind of folky vibe to it, but it's like unsettling at the same time. There's an instrument that sounds like a sitar playing in the background. I probably have the wrong instrument, but it's got that kind of like folky sound to it. So very quickly turning in and out of 3D there to just kind of reset his position so he doesn't have to walk all the way across that bridge. It's one of those little optimizations that saves a bit of time. So I was doing a flip ledge clip here to get into the door without having to deal with the cutscene of talking to Merlin. Although it looks like he messed it up. And just took the elevator by accident. So he's trying to extend the hitbox over to the door itself to skip a cutscene here. You can also do a gold bar clip as well. I'm guessing this is just the more optimal strat.
判定が難かったりするんでしょう。
いやー、左すぎるかな。あ
あーっと、
ーわっと、今度はちょっと端っこすぎましたね。
なかなかシビア。
And he's nailed some like really big skips, and these little ones just giving him some trouble. It's just how it'd be sometimes, you know.
実はここの、イベントスキルやり方が2つありまして。
Dichotomy of speedrunners: you nail all the hard tricks and you miss the
ネクルルーンを使った方
you
が
miss the little ones.
ちょっとだけ早いんですけど、まあ、壁抜けを使ってやる方法もあるので、そっちでやりたいと思います。
というわけで、これが本当のファイナルエレベーターです。
本当にこれで最後にしたい。まずここで壁を抜きます。ちょっと左に行って、次に戻して、扉に入ると。これで一つイベントをスキップしました。
Yeah, this cutscene looks all freaky.
裏のワールさんは
Costs less time. It probably costs less time performing the trick than if you just watch the cutscene, just given how many times, you know, things went wrong, but still cool that he was able to show it off.
ワール伯爵たちの本拠地。そしてこの城もまたでかいんですね。
でかいですね。でかいけどしっかりなんか
So, finally we're at Plex Castle.
そうですね。
All of its black and white and purple imagery, glory.
ここは入り口が次元技でしか入れない入り口になっているので、次元技で進んでいきます。
扉もでかいな。
Level also starts to get really trippy once you go into 3D.
基本的にこの階段のエリアはこうなんか
So it's like this outline extend. Like I think this kind of dungeon. I don't know if I would have liked it as a full dungeon in an earlier Paper Mario game, but I think it works pretty well in this one, just on account of this game being a bit shorter than the other Paper Marios in terms of overall length, and so it fits the pacing of this game very well.
実はこの部屋は一番最初の方に
Because the last time they tried an all black and white level was Bogley Woods.
場所だったんですね。あ、やばい。
本当これ決まらないとき決まらないですよね。
突然こうなります。
He's trying to salvage it with a Thudley jump. Can switch to Peach here, I believe, but
ピーチ品を使うところだったんですが、置いてき
I
ちゃ
believe
った
that would just
ところに
mess things up.
そうです
I'm
ね
not mistaken.
持ったままということで
Somebody in chat can correct me on that one. But either way,
でここに扉の壁
jumping across that gap there. Because the weird thing I think about the speedrun relative to this game casually is most people I've talked to said they actually didn't use Mario that much.
うわ
Yeah. I mean, because we skip getting Peach in 7-3. Might just not be able to. I know that we do get her back for an upcoming fight because she's forced. But yeah, I think the funny thing to me about this game as a speedrun is most people I talked to casually actually said that they didn't use Mario all that much because Bowser and Carrie just did so much damage, and you know, a lot of people like to play as Luigi, and his super jumps are just better than any of Mario's moves.
縦にビヨーンって伸びる敵がいるんです
So it's funny how this speedrun, because of the 3D mechanic enabling many of the different glitches in the game, you use Mario for almost the entire run of this game, outside of a few points and fights where you would use Bowser.
ここに次のエリアのヒントがありますね。
Like most people pretty much only used Mario when they had to, from from talking to them. So I think it's really interesting how Mario is actually the main character you use for movement in the run.
左から2、3、5番目に火をつけます。
Yeah, so we don't have Peach. Okay, so we never got her back. We will get her back, quote unquote, for something coming up soon, though. But yeah, we don't have her for that jump. You're right.
クッパでギミック開けるけど、次元技でしか進めない扉なのでマリオに変えます。大きな階段が現れて。
捕まえていたのはドドンタス。そして戦うのはクッパと。
So now we get to fight our chunks. And this chapter's kind of, I don't know if I want to call it a gimmick, but one of its thematic things is that it sections off your party where each member gets their own fight. And the fight is kind of the one that's most thematically similar to them. Bowser fighting the big guy. I'd say Peach fighting the girl, but Black actually is a very inclusive villain and has multiple girls in his entourage. Chunks is just a very dumb boss as usual, and it's very easy to get into a loop.
いるように見えるだけです。天井が落ちてきてしまったが。
And so Chunks, having been defeated, decides that he's gonna spare our lives, because he kind of recognizes he's been having, like, all of his Black's minions kind of have been having doubts that Black, like, of his intentions, his goals, and, like, you know, what side are they really on? Because, you know, they feel like they want to be on the side that changes the world, but, you know, what are they really doing? So but Chunks gets his redemption moment, and the dialogue between these two is genuinely, like, great, because they're both talking crap to each other while they're, like, saving everyone's lives. So the door's locked behind us, and so we have to proceed without Bowser. Also, the princess is with us. And that's the end of 8-1.
それで8の1は終了と。しかしグッパが、仲間から外れてしまったと。
で、ここからは兄弟2人旅プラスパネルになります。
そうですね。
揺れも強くなり崩壊が近づいてきているということで。
して間に合うのか。
ここはうまいこと避けていきながら、ツーリーのまま進んでいきます。
この次のエリアにはデアールが。
Back to more proceeding through the castle, and here we see Merlin, who tells us to hit this block here. But of course, you can just skip past all of this with a thumbly jump. Hitting the block is bad because Mimi. No, I think the original stream audio is just not coming through, so it's mostly just me talking. Probably could have said this earlier, and if one has, like, some game audio, you could probably pop open the RTA In Japan stream and keep it open at some level of volume, although probably there'll be some audio delay between the two of us. Anyways, so he does that Dudley jump to get the key there, because it skips a good chunk of the level. And this whole level being clearly Mimi's design, she's just setting up traps to screw with you.
ボロボロがいますので、こいつを踏んで倒します。あ、びっくりした。鍵出なかったかと思った。
ちょうど隠れてましたね。
あー、怖っ。
ボロボロを踏み損ねたらどんどん増えていくので、本物を倒さないとって形なんで。
早めに倒しておきたいですね。
そうですね。
But now that we have the key, we can skip past that trap.
今度はなんとサンデールですか。
And so here's Merly again, because it's definitely Merly. And so she asks us, all right, what are the things that you hate the most?
ウルトラキノコ苦手なんで、まあウルトラキノコ
Which is sort of a callback to Paper Mario 64 when Bowser interrogates Peach on these things. And then in the next chapter,
うわー、苦手なも
he
の
sets the
な
dungeon up with
婚活
whatever you told him. So it'll either be like a weak enemy, a strong enemy, or an item.
ちなみにここ3番目の選択肢に
And so Igrmi
選んでしまったら
chose
ボツになります
two enemies that are really easy to get past, and he chose a Ultra Mushroom, which you can choose a Goomba is slightly faster than choosing the Ultra Mushroom,
正体はマネーラでした。
but he just wanted the health for safety, it looks like.
で、マネーラの相手をするのはなんとピーチ姫ということで、
And so Peach, being
ピーチ姫
戦うパネルです
kind of just fed up with Mimi's tricks, decides that she wants a crack at the second boss of this level. And so we get Peach's like one of like 3 times in the runs that she really gets to shine, pretty much out of necessity in this case because she's the one who has to fight the boss. I don't believe Mimi has a certain amount of health. I think it's like the fight with her in chapter 2 where you just need to deal a certain amount of hits.
お、成功しました。
She has a lot more attacks in her pattern, but you can just kind of juggle her with carry like this.
失敗し
There's sort of an infinite here. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to keep it going as long as you can. And so Mimi does this attack, which is basically just undodgeable and just wastes time. Or not dodgeable, she's invulnerable during it, so it just wastes time.
決まればかなり美味しいっていう形の技になります
そうですね。
And
で、乗ってこうになって
so Mimi got owned.
乗ってるイベント中に乗ってこうに乗るっていう技ですね
6の1でやったのと同じですね。
They agree to let us go. Or she agrees to let us go, but
マリオたちに先に行きます
Peach starts to take some pity on her.
けど乗ってこう
And
ついてくる
a hole opens up in the floor, but
パネルリタイアということで
あ
before we can even advance, the door behind us gets locked, and our usual mission is just completely failed. We just let the princess
ー
go.
ますが
Of course, Peach being the hero for once in her life, she is like, I will not let you die. But then they both fall anyway.
ここでピーチ姫をリタイアと
残り2人だけになってしまいました。
And so, one by one, we're losing our party members.
なんかそんな感じします
And that's 8-2.
そうですね。次のボス戦でプラス8000なので、あと2000ぐらい必要かな。ちょっとどこかで稼いでおく必要
I don't know what it is with this game for me, but I feel like when I get to this chapter, I always go through this chapter in one go. Like the 3 or 4 times I beat this game back in the day.
それを取って進んでいきます。
単純に行動速度が速くなるのでか
It's just like a tradition. It was like I plowed through this entire chapter in one go every time. Just getting to the end of this game.
ここは本来正しい道を進んで
So I think our pace is set to be just under 4 hours.
あの後ろの方に
Based on Igrumi's usual pace. So you did a super jump there because you actually need to approach that you need to approach that door, I believe, from a correct spot. There's another room like that that's a lot more intricate in this dungeon.
鏡だったら
And
わかるけど
this level is really
っ
trippy.
ていうのが一応ヒントですね
そうですね。
There's a lot of like weird shifting perspectives and just Dementio flying around everywhere.
この先キノコありましたっけ？確か。
キノコはありますありますね
あ、ありますね。ここは、階段に実は穴が開いていると。
ここはルイージで決まった順番にブロックを叩く ことで、正しい扉が出てきて進んでいく。一応ここも迷路みたいな感じになってるんですけど、
So
まあ、
Luigi's
分かってるんです。
super high jump here makes this part pretty easy.
一応正解のブロックは、次元技を
Ordinarily, they want you to avoid these magic enemies here, but they're really easy to get
ブロ
around.
ックでもなんか別のアイテムが出てきたりもする。
As is the usual Paper Mario trap, there's a room with a door that's already there, and the door doesn't lead you anywhere important, but
木のやつがトラップ
it hides the actual switch that you want to hit.
じゃあ記憶違いだそうです。
で、ここは順番通りにおーっとブロックを叩くことで宝箱が出現します。あー、ちょっと卑怯ですよ。
He's getting juggled.
こいつらイベント中にも攻撃打ってくるからですね。
そうなんですよね。
ヒーローの変身中に殴ってくる敵キャラみたいな感じです。
まあ、めちゃめちゃ合理的ですね。好きだらけなんだから。
正しいことなんですよね。地味に攻撃力が高いのも痛いですよね。
そうですね。赤いやつは特に高いですね。
So now that he has the keys to move on. Level's about to get really strange.
ああ、この鍵を開けたらもう
There's a lot of like Paper Mario conventions in this chapter. This is one of them, which is the room that you need to go a specific pathway through. This one's handled a bit differently than the ones in Paper Mario 64 and TQID, in that rather than entering doors in a certain order, you have to take a specific path around these platforms. You can turn 3D, and there's it tells you the solution if you do it in 3D, but Igrmi already knows it, so he's not going to waste the time going into 3D. So you go back here, and that is a lot of Dimentios.
ここに宝箱があるのでこのまま宝箱を開けます。
Yeah, also a reference to Mario 2, the Japanese Mario 2, where there was like a very particular path you had to go through to beat the levels. Anyways, Dimentio time. Only unlike the previous ones, we have to chase him. This is another sequence that's common to Paper Mario, backtracking. Say what you will about this game, like, compared to other Paper Marios, there's really not a lot of backtracking in this game. And even this, like, quote-unquote backtracking section is more just, like, what you're doing is going through all of the different worlds that you've already been to. You're just going through a portion of each, of a level in each of them.
さっきというか最初に拾わなかったクリボーのカードとかはそのまま残ってたりします。
Kind of a neat little brief assessment of how far you've really come throughout this game, albeit it is a little bit repetitious and annoying, I feel.
さあ、ここも無限ジャンプをするところですね。一旦手前に寄っておいて、ここで無限ジャンプをして、上のエリアに行きます。足りてない。
I'm trying for a Thudley jump to skip this part.
本来は難しいんです、この技。さっきのは本当にすごかった。
やばい、マジか。
He's nailing those Chapter 7 ones and then just having trouble on this one. So third try is not bad.
やばいんですよ、この技。
いやー、7の斜めの時めちゃめちゃ良かったんですけどね。
そうですね、あれ本当すごかった。ディメンさんが頭をぶつけながら左に進んでいく。
ここなんかカクカクしていくの面白いですよね。
もうちょっと下通らせてあげて。
Yeah, for as much trouble as for as much as I give this game on stuff like difficulty and a couple of its levels, I do really like this game. Like, there's a long history of people dismissing the Paper Marios after the first two, and generally disliking the direction that the games went in. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't lament that a little bit with this game. Like, at first, I was I was hardcore against this game because it was it was change, and I didn't want change for what was really honestly my favorite game of all time as a kid, Paper Mario 64, and then TTYD, which I thought was a very good sequel. But in playing this game, I do like it does have its faults. I don't think it's quite as good as the first two, but it does things differently. It actually fixes some of the problems, even though it's a different genre by and large, and it has a lot of the same charm to it. There's a lot of love put into the characters, the world, and all that. It's like, even though some of the games in this later part of the series play closer to the original, I still feel like this game is like very much a Paper Mario game, even if they moved it to 2D platformer. So, like, I'm always happy to see this game get into marathons. Its linear format makes it a lot harder to sequence break than Thousand Year Door is, but there's all sorts of little tricks here that keep things interesting. So here we are in the Chapter 6 section of Holding Right. Thankfully, this portion I don't believe is anywhere near as long as the first time we go into the void. Which I still think that is one of the most effective uses of nothing in a video game I've seen. If that makes any sense. But yeah, I really like this game. I hope y'all, if you played this game, you like this game. And if you haven't, I mean, remarkably, discs for this game don't go for super expensive, which is nice because the retro gaming market's a little weird. You can buy it on the Wii U eShop if you have one of those as well. I know the Switch kind of vastly outperformed the Wii U, but a lot of people still have a Wii U. So it's definitely worth a playthrough. There's a lot of things I think Igrmi makes look easy as well. Like it is an easy game, admittedly, but it does have some side content that offers a nice challenge. So he's using the I believe it's called a muscle drink, and it just increases your offensive power in the fight here. So doing a super jump onto Dementio just hits him for a truckload. And so, as per the trend of bosses in this dungeon being, I'm taking you out with me, whether not by choice, Dementia is just like, now we both die. Whereas, as we've established earlier, this attack doesn't really kill. It just, I don't know. It just teleports you to the underwear, I guess. Not entirely sure. Like the implications of that, because one thing Jade's actually says is that it's not properly your time when she sees you in the underwear, and that's why she's able to justify giving you a literal continue. I actually didn't mention that back in chapter 7, but basically her way of resurrecting you, she goes like, game over, game over, game over, game over, continue. And for the record, anything I'm saying of this sort is localization. Using, the English names and some of the English dialogue. For the most part, I don't really know like what the names are in Japanese, although many of them are just puns. And as you probably can imagine, puns aren't the easiest thing to translate. So I think the localization team did a good enough job with this game on most things. And so we are here on chapter 8.4, which a lot of our powers have just kind of been limited because we're now down to Mario, which I feel like is almost the biggest weakness of this particular level, is because by this point we've like lost all of our buddies. Like they've been taken from us one by one by the previous bosses. So the level design has to kind of simplify, rather than like, you know, making full use of everybody, which I feel like I would have preferred a level where you make full use of everyone rather than a level where you can only use the things you have access to as Mario, but I digress. Here we make the one use of Dottie the entire run. So she can shrink you down and let you get into these little cubby holes. We actually skipped getting her in her normal position, but you do need to use her here, and thankfully the game gives her to you. I want to imagine you might be able to out of bounds clip here, but it'd probably just be really obnoxious. I might also just be wrong on that one. So I'm not entirely sure every screen that you can do gold bar clips on. So here it's nice just showing the ways that like Thudley jump being actually remarkably forgiving. If you fail the first jump, you can try again. How that enables you to get past skips without, you know, immediately just ground pounding to the pits and just losing a lot of time. Yeah, it looks like we're on 358, 359-ish pace. This screen right here, I think, is the one that like really comes to mind when I think of this dungeon and kind of really just this game, just going through these like mirrors in 3D. Well, not really mirrors, but the like, you know, these little passageways. Like this is just the screen I think of when I think of this game more than almost any other. So we are finally on to the fight with Count Black. And at this point, Tippy tries to finally talk some sense because she's remembered who she was. You know, she was his former love, and you know, I'm alive. You don't have to do this anymore. And he basically says something akin to, "I'm the one foretold by the dark prognosticus to bring about the end. There's nothing I can. That is my destiny at this point." You know, he's like, "I'm too far gone." So it's like we have to, you know, knock some sense into him. Like, there's a bit more motive to the character, I feel. You know, part of it is just him feeling like he's fulfilling a prophecy. Part of it is just him feeling he's too far gone. A part of it is just his, you know, hatred of the universe for, you know, taking away the one thing he loved the most. Even though that didn't end up being the case. But alas, nobody died, so here's Bowser.
彼が生きていたんですね。
And Peach, and Luigi, and presumably Black's minions as well.
4人の勇者が揃った時
And because we have the power of the 8 pure hearts, we get the ability to destroy Black's barrier.
破壊すると
And this allows us to fight what is probably one of the more annoying boss fights in this game.
熱い展開ですよね。
ですね。
At least for the
これから
speedrun.
火が通るようになります
So Black likes to blink around,
強強ドリンクを使って
and more so than almost any fight in the game, this fight really just illustrates how powerful the Bowser carry combo is.
が欲しいので乗ってこう
Because, like, with the muscle drink, just the sheer amount of damage we do on a single hit is like a sixth of Black's health bar or something.
場所が分かったり、方向が分かったりもするので、
Yeah, it's like
逃げる
7 hits to kill. He has 150 health.
時だけは、攻撃しても逃げていかないのでそこを狙って、今みたいに連続で攻撃をすること
I just wasn't aiming in the right direction there.
ちょっと
スロー引いちゃいましたね。
このスローの攻撃厳しいんですよね。こっちはまともに動けないので。動かない。あ、よし。
ちなみにこのノワール伯爵の攻撃たまにはめられます。
そうですね。でこれが混沌のラブパワーと。まあ都合上カットしたのですが、このゲーム始める前にですね、ちょっとムービーがありまして、そこでクッパとピーチ姫のありえない愛から生まれたなんか悪い力となってるわけですね。
So this here is the Chaos Heart, which is basically the evil MacGuffin that Black is using,
まあこれにて
seeking to destroy the world, as foretold in the Prognosticus. Dementio here reveals himself to be a backstabbing scumbag and also seeking Black's goals. And like now that Black is like weakened and no longer serving his purpose, he tries to unleash the finishing blow, but Anastasia jumps right in front of him to save his life.
見覚えのない木の芽を
And of course, Luigi, I think he says something like "I am green" here. He says something really weird, and Dementio, the seed that Dementio planted in his mind has literally corrupted him to the point of turning him into the final boss. So unfortunately, you can't use Luigi in this fight, which I always thought was a shame because Luigi would actually make this fight probably make this fight a little bit more appropriately easier. But we still have Bowser. Anyways, the music that plays here is really awesome. You might not be able to hear it on this stream, but like definitely check out the soundtrack of this game. It's pretty good. It's got some just genuinely really good tracks. This track's like a combination of like a dark carnival theme mixed with like a boss fight theme. But anyways, this is Super Dementio, and we can't hurt him. So we're gonna get a long cutscene here of essentially all of the existing worlds we know just being absorbed by the void. Because it wouldn't be Paper Mario without an overbearingly long cutscene at the end.
やっぱ最終戦ですからね。相当強いでしょう。
いやー、きっと強いんでしょうね。
困難が予想されるのでしっかり集中力を高めてもらって、ミスのないようにいってもらいたいです。
頑張ります。
And so Tippy and Black talk to each other, and Black kind of finally realizes the grave mistake that he's made all along, and that at one point, he was a good person who loved the world and wanted the best for everyone, and kind of has reflected on some of his minions coming up to him and saying, "Hey, you can still turn this around,
どんだけの HP や攻撃力があるのやら。
So now that all the pure hearts have been drained, they decide to give the energy, to get the, or they reawaken the energy back in them. Ugh. Sorry, I've been at this for 4 hours. Excuse me if I misspeak a little bit. And so the pure hearts give us a full heal and also allow Super Dementio to be able to take damage. Now Super Dementio has 200 HP. It's a bit of a wonky fight. You're going to use the muscle drink here to lower the amount of hits that we need to deal to actually deal finishing damage. And yeah, you can just lead with Bowser and just absolutely shred his hit points. So yeah, 5 hits and he's dead. That's the final boss. Yeah, it's worth repeating that those strats are specifically designed for maximum damage in one specific fight, but it's kind of comical how fast you can just wipe him out. Yeah, time for this game comes on, I believe, the last input of text. So there's gonna be one long final cutscene here. Just trying to undo the Dark Prognosticus's prophecy. And everyone returns from the Dementio dimension.
ここから脱出しようという形で、これはプロローグに出てきた場所に変わるんですが、
So Black offers everybody a way out, but unfortunately at this point there's just not really a means to stop the end of the world there. So kind of at dire straits here.
プロローグを紹介できないのが残念なんですが、皆さんぜひやってくださいこのゲーム。お願いします。バーチャルコンソール版確か2100円とかで Wii U で買えますので、よろしくお願いします。もうその Wii U かな。ああ、もう Wii U 持ってる人そんなにいなかったりするんですかね。なかなかレアハードじゃないですか、今時も。いやー、もう時代はスイッチか。やれる機会があったらぜひやってください。
And so the only way to undo everything, so Black and Tippy both agree that they will sacrifice themselves and defeat the Chaos Heart and the Dark Prognosticus's end of the world by by the power of love, and I'm not kidding. So it was a forbidden marriage that caused the end of the world, and it is a forbidden marriage that ends it. It's kind of an interesting way to bookend the game, even if it's cheesy as hell. And so they save the world, sacrifice themselves, renew their vows for each other, and save the day when all seems lost.
形でストーリーが終わりますね。滅んでた世界も次々元に戻っていくと。このシーン結構好きです。いいっすよね。無邪気に喜ぶロック人が。
So you kind of just see all the different regions that were swallowed by the void have returned. All is saved because it's a kid's game and nobody actually dies. Except for the characters who did die. Yes, time is coming up pretty soon.
タウンに戻ってきまして、ナスタシアン、リベーンの魔法を直で食らったナスタシアンも無事でした。で、次元の穴もなくなって、
Excuse me.
世界の崩壊は
So, really quick, just kind of want to give some shout outs. Shout out to Yoshizilla for agreeing to be in a call with me for a little bit as I prepped for this. This ended up being kind of short notice. I mean, we only got the invites on commentary for this like 10 days ago. I didn't even know there's an SPM server until a couple of days ago, and so ultimately I kind of just prepped on my own. I'm not a runner of this game, but I do really like this game. I hope I reflected some of that in commentary. Missed probably a couple things here and there and misspoke on a few areas, but I hope you enjoyed regardless. Shoutouts to, the Paper Mario community in general, a lot of really cool people. That's all the people who found several of the strats. I actually DM'd Igrmi on how he pronounces his name, so shouts to him for that. So big thanks on that. Thanks for dabbing me, I guess. I'm more volunteering here rather than like being taken in, but I appreciate y'all watching. So thank you. And time at 4 hours and 44 seconds. So there's a long credits scene here. There is a little post run or post credits shot there that kind of gives a little bit of closure, just hinting at the final fate of Black and Tippy. And you can also do stuff after the credits. There's like 100% category for this game. But yeah, definitely keep watching. There's a lot of runs going on this week. We actually have a kind of Mario block. There's SPM, which just happened, and then coming up is going to be Super Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury, which I believe is a 100 Shines run, and then a blindfolded, a back-to-back blindfolded run, first of Mario 64 70 Star, and then Punch Out for the NES/Famicom. I'll probably do the shoutouts for them, even though I'm not somebody who runs this game. But if you do run this game, there is a Discord on speedrun.com, speedrun.com/SPM. There's a link there for the Discord. There's the leaderboards. There's a few different categories if you're interested in any of them. There's the 80%. There's a 100%, which is like an 11-hour an 11-hour category. There's all the pixels, which is flip side Pit of 100 Trials, any percent, and then the 2 other pixels. There's beating the Pit of 100 Trials as early as possible, and then there's defeating the flop side Pit of 100 Trials, which there's 2 Pit of 100 Trials in this game, so a lot of side content. I do recommend this game. It's charming, it's cute, it's fun, even if it is a little on the easy side. So yeah, thanks all for watching. And definitely do check out the rest of the event. RTA In Japan is a marathon I've grown quite fond of, and I really want to see succeed going forward. So yeah, thanks for watching.